All right, boys and girls, we are on the turnpike and we are heading south so that we can hook up with 285 West, I believe it's called. And when we hit 285 West, then we will be, heading west. And so it'll be glorious. It will be awesome. And I am looking for your donations in order to give me gas. You did this for Rev and Shanny when they were going from California or Colorado or wherever the fuck they were to Pennsylvania. You gave them gas money and helped them out. So I figure if you can do that for them, you can do it for me as well. So I am heading west. I am on my way. I am definitely on my way. I don't know how far half a tank will get me, but I'm definitely on my way. The only bitch is you got to go south before you can go west, and that really pisses me off. Okay, my bad. It wasn't 85, it was 276. All right, so we're now heading to we're on 270. I guess we're on 276 now, kind of, sort of. So we're heading west. And like I said, I'll find me some little tiny hamlet somewhere that isn't on the map. And, I'll try and, hunker down and get some gas. Hopefully somebody will give me some money for food and for gas, and I will be okay. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Really interesting last couple of months you've had. So, we'd like to hear from you from the start, like where this began to make you want to leave Kentucky, if you know what I mean, like where it starts, how you came to the point wanting to leave.
All right.
Then
well,
sort of take us through the whole process.
Okay. Well, let's back up to the beginning then. I went to court to be my mother's guardian officially. I was already her guardian unofficially, but I wanted to do it through the court system so it'd be nice and official. You know what I mean? And so I'm in court, and then all of a sudden, there comes a shirt-tail relative by the name of James Arnold Frost. He comes busting through the courtroom doors with this lawyer in tow that ironically served me before, which, by the way, is a conflict of interest. But anyway, they come busting through the door. We got a will, and the judge is like, oh, okay, you got a will. And I'm like, judge, that can't be the real will. Now you understand, I'm the one that's living this, not anybody else. I'm actually living it. And I said, judge, that ain't the right will. I mean, I've been her executor for years. That will cannot be correct, making him the executor. Well, he's got a will and you don't, so I have to go with that will. Now, see, I don't believe that for a second, because a judge has wide latitude when it comes to documentation. So I don't believe that. However, I'm going to go with it because that's what happened. So anyway, he's like, she did say in honesty, though, she said, you need to contest this will. She knew the will was fake too. All right. So Frost comes in with a fake will or an old will or whatever you want to call it. I don't give a shit. Still wasn't the correct will, but he comes in with an old will. Now, fast forward, I go back into court, and the gods and goddesses of freedom religion said, hey, when you go into court, say this. And so when I got into the court, I said, hey, I want to see the wills that don't have James Arnold Frost as the executor. And the judge says, you know what? You're absolutely right. And so they went and grabbed a hold of all the wills. And guess what? The will that did not have his name came after his will, because his will was dated 2015. Mine's dated 2018. And so therefore, I was indeed the executor, just as I had claimed. Now, the thing that aggravates me, though, is that once we found out this tidbit of information, James never went to jail, which he should have. He should have went to jail for committing fraud, as well as a slew of other laws that he broke. But he did not. Now, the problem with this whole thing is that in the process of him being executor, he went into Mom's house under the quote renovation and stole some money out of her closet to the tune of $5 million. that was wrapped in wrapped in $100 bills, wrapped in mason jars. And he also stole mom's jewelry. He also stole mom's lawn equipment. Also stole all of mom's guns out of her house, which, by the way, is an automatic felony in the state of Kentucky. Stole, let's see, all the under the auspices of, oh, I'm the executor, I can do what I want. Well, no, actually, executors cannot do what they want. They have to follow. They have to follow the guidelines of the will, and the will said that everything got left to my kids, not to him. He was not to get nothing. But anyway, I digress. So we found the correct will that had me as executor. And apparently somebody wanted to throw a monkey wrench in it anyway. So what happened was I got Tim Davison on my property as one of my renters. He got a little plot and had him a little pull along, and so he's enjoying being on the property, and everything's going great. And then the next thing I know, his son Brian shows up out of the blue and says, "Hey, I can help you with the liens." The liens we're referring to is the liens that Todd Malacote purchased, and the liens that the next door neighbor across the street. He said, "I can help you with that. I'll buy the middle property between you and Frost for 10,000, and then you can pay off your liens, get your liens all caught up." And I said, "Okay, that sounds like a plan to me." So that's what we did. Now understand that the only discussion past that was he come back another day and said, "Hey, how about how about giving me all of it?" And I said, "Well, if you give me 200,000, I'll give you all of it." And that was it. That was the end of the conversation. It dropped. Now Tim Davison was there. He heard everything. But anyway, so that was the end of the discussion. Never thought no more about it. Now the next thing I know, a little bit of time passed, but the next thing I know, the county attorney's calling me, Joe White, the county attorney's calling me, and he's saying, "Hey, Charity's here, and she's signing herself over as your power of attorney." And I said, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she's signing everything over into her name. You're okay with that? And I said, "Well, not really, but I mean, if she's if she's going to pay me for it, yeah, sure." And so he's like, "Okay." And so he went on ahead and let her put everything in her name. Now, remember, this is with the understanding that I get paid for that property. Okay. And Joe heard me because I told it to him. That was the condition, that I get paid, because I'm not going to turn over my property to just anybody. But apparently, Joe did not hear that part and just turned it over to her lock, stock, and barrel without me getting paid a dime, because I should have got paid the moment those papers were signed, and I did not. So anyway, moving right along. Time passes. Everything seemed to be mellow. But then there on the last, they became belligerent, started threatening me all hours of the day and night, every day, every night. Started threatening my dogs. There was a little bit of dirt got on their vehicle, their Corvette, brand new Corvette that they purchased, and they said, "Well, your dog did it." And so I went and checked my dog. I checked their paws. There was no dirt on my dog's paws at all. Went and checked their coon dog, and their coon dog did have dirt on his paws. I don't need to be an ace detective to figure that shit out. Anyways, moving right along. So they became more and more belligerent, and then after that, what happened is that they started becoming rather unhinged. She comes pounding on my door, saying the window air conditioner I had was on fire, and I'm like, "What? On fire?" And she's like, "Yeah, man, it's on fire." And so I obviously it's not on fire, or my house would be full of smoke, right? But I humored her, and I went outside and I looked at it. I said, "No, it's not on fire." And she says, "But it's running." I said, "Yeah, it's supposed to. It's an air conditioner." But anyway, that was really, really bizarre. And Brian, her husband or boyfriend or fiance or significant other, comes running over to the house with a gun, saying that my outside dog, Bubby, is eating the insulation under the trailer and damaging the pipes. Now, obviously, if Bubby was smashing into the pipes and eating the insulation, I'd have a big ass pool of water under my trailer, from where the pipes busted, right? No, it's not a drop of water. And I said, well, that's interesting that there's no water running out from under my trailer. So I went and I looked underneath there. There was no insulation being eaten, and dogs don't eat insulation, no way. But there was no pipes burst. There was no insulation damaged. Um, so now you say, okay, well, how in the world did this happen? Well, I have a few theories how that happened. A certain individual who is adept at putting thoughts in people's minds decided it would be funny to mess with these people's heads and put those thoughts in their mind. Now, the result of which is that Brian, like I said, had a gun. He was trying to shoot my big dog. And John heard the gunshots on video. Fortunately, I just happened to be live with John, and John heard the gunshot, and I heard the gunshots. Like, holy shit, what is that? And I said, well, it sounded like a gun, and I was correct, of course. And so I go out there and to see what's going on. And he's your dog's destroying the trailer underneath. I said, no, he's not. And then I got to talking to him about the money. I said, well, when are y'all gonna pay me for these properties? And at that point, he got belligerent and said, I never said anything about paying. Well, I'm sorry, but he did. But he says he didn't. He can't remember because that memory was wiped. But anyway, and so he got belligerent, and at that point, he decided he would put a loaded gun at my face and say, I never said that. To which I recoiled, obviously, and went back in the trailer. And then after cooler heads prevailed, I came back out, and she's like, "Look, I will give you some money for all the stuff in the trailer, and then you can get on your road." And I said, "Well, it just so happens that I was talking to John on live on the internet, and he asked me to come visit him, and so that's exactly what I'll do." And now at first I wanted John to come get me, but then I thought, wait a minute, if I do that, I can't take my computer with me. So, because I figured his car would be full of his stuff. So I decided to just trek off on my own. And now I gave them about $20,000 worth of stuff in that trailer, to which they only give me $1,500. Now, luckily, though, I already had 500 in the bank, so I went to the bank, drew it out, and so I had $2,000. Now, the curious thing comes is that somehow on my way from Kentucky to New Jersey, I lost $1,500 or thereabouts. Now, how in the hell that happened? Well, that's anybody's guess.